I'm back talking about three Sienese guys in the Terrace of Pride in Dante's Purgatory. And when I left off, we were talking about this guy, Umberto. And he says to Dante, I am Umberto, and the sin of pride has ruined not only me, but all my house, dragging them with it to calamity. Now, this is a guy who was a Ghibelline in Siena. He turned Guelph. In other words, he saw the political fortunes. He became a traitor to his own side. Now, in a way, he defected over to Dante's side. And you may expect that Dante likes this. Oh, man, you came over to our side. No, Dante's point is that by this kind of treason, this guy undermined his own family because his own family's reputation became untenable in Siena. And at the time that Umberto is talking, his family is kind of in ruins, and he sort of knows that. So what Dante is making the point is that a lot of sins are very damaging to the sinner, yes, and they have eternal consequences for the sinner, yes, but they also affect other people. They hurt other people, and Umberto is very well aware of this. And so this is the nature of sin. It has a corrosive effect on innocent people and on society. And then Dante moves on, and he runs into a kind of painter who engaged in illumination painting. Illumination here is taking manuscripts and rendering them in an artistic manner, the art called illumination. Oh, says Dante, you must be that Odorisi, honor of the art which men in Paris call illuminating. So this is the presentation, the elegant presentation of manuscripts. And look how Odorisi responds in the most unexpected way. Dante is celebrating him. Hey, you're the great Odorisi. And Odorisi goes, the pages Franco Bolognese paints smile more radiantly. His is the honor now, mine is far less. Wow. I mean, how rare it is to have a great artist basically say, you know, my work was good, but you know this other guy, Franco Bolognese, he's actually better than me. He deserves more honor than I do. The ability of someone to say that shows that they are in the process of overcoming pride, that they are learning a certain humility. They have the objectivity to be able to say, yeah, you know, I did a pretty good job, and I take a certain satisfaction in that. But I wasn't the best guy at this. And so while Dante is giving Odorisi credit, Odorisi turns around and gives another guy credit. And we don't know anything about Odorisi. We don't have a single one of his illuminations. We've never heard of Franco Bolognese either. But as the conversation goes on, we realize that what Dante is talking about, even though we don't know these guys, Dante certainly knows what he's talking about because Odorisi continues. And he's talking now about art and painting in Florence. And he says this. He goes, once Cimabue thought to hold the field as a painter, Giotto now is all the rage, dimming the luster of the other's fame. So what Oderisi is saying is, in the world of painting, there was this guy Cimabue, and he was a good painter, but now Giotto is thought to be even better. And so the analogy that Oderisi had made between him and this other guy, Bolognese, is now replicated here. Cimabue is a pretty good painter. Giotto is greater. Well, as it turns out, these are two painters that we know a lot about. In fact, if you go to the Uffizi Gallery in Florence right now, you walk into this huge room right near the entrance. What do you see on the left? A giant Madonna by Cimabue, and on the right, a giant Madonna by Giotto. And you know what? The Giotto one represents a much greater perspective and realism, and all of this was coming into Florence at this exact time. And so Dante's description here, that Giotto is replacing Cimabue in terms of the depth and perspective of painting, this is absolutely 100% right. So Dante knows what he's talking about here, and then it goes on in a very interesting way, because Oderisi says he's now talking about poetry, and he goes, so one Guido takes from the other one poetic glory, and already born perhaps is he who will drive both from fame's nest. So here, and this is really why we need a little bit of footnotes with Dante, he's talking about two Guidos. And he goes, there was one Guido, he was a pretty great poet, but he got replaced by another Guido, and maybe there's a third guy already born who's going to be even greater than those two. So let's try to unpack this a little bit. Turns out that the first Guido is a guy named Guido Gunicelli. We'll actually meet him later on in Purgatory. And what Odorisi is saying is that Guido Gunicelli, has been replaced by Dante's own friend, a guy named Guido Cavalcanti. Let's remember in Inferno, we met Guido Cavalcanti's dad. Farinata and Cavalcanti, that's Cavalcanti. He's also Guido Cavalcanti. So you've got Guido Cavalcanti the father. He has Guido Cavalcanti the son. So that Guido, the son, has replaced this guy named Gunicelli. And who's the third guy already born who's going to displace both of them? Well, that's none other than Dante himself. So here we have a little bit of a problem, because it may seem, we're supposed to be in this terrace of pride, and isn't Dante kind of going the other way by going, you know what, you had one Guido, then you have another Guido, and here's Dante, and I'm going to be greater than both of them. And that would be a way that you could read Dante sort of patting himself on the back, except for what comes in the exact next line. Here it is. Your earthly fame is but a gust of wind that blows about, shifting this way and that, and as it changes quarter, changes name. And a few lines later, what are 10 centuries to eternity? You see that soul? Well, that's the next section. I'll come to that next time. What's going on here is that Dante, right away, after talking about the emergence of Dante the painter, he makes the point that fame is fleeting. And fame may seem like a big deal, and it is a big deal. Look, here we are, 1,000 years later, we're discussing the Divine Comedy, so Dante was right. Dante knows that his own fame is in that sense more enduring, but Dante also knows that earthly fame is ephemeral, you can't take it with you, and that there are other types of reputation that matter far more when you present yourself before God.